Good morning, everyone. Weymouth residents, honored guests, veterans and friends, on behalf of the Weymouth Veterans Council and Mayor Hedlund, we welcome you to the 2025 Weymouth Memorial Day observances. Please stand if you're able as we raise the flag to full staff and then lower it to half staff to honor those that we have lost for Memorial Day. We will raise it to its full glory at noon. If you are a veteran, you may salute. Otherwise, please place your hand over your heart as our Weymouth Scouts present the colors. Scout detail, please raise the flag to half staff. And salute. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing as I invite Mia Manfredi, a Weymouth High School junior, to come forward and lead us in the national anthem. Mia?
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Excellent job. Thank you very much, Mia. Please remain standing as I invite the Weymouth Veterans Council chaplain, Reverend Brad Hultman, forward to lead us in the invocation. Reverend Hultman.
Let us pray. Lord God, this Memorial Day we remember before you all who have died. Especially pray for our servicemen and women who have sacrificed all for the liberties we now enjoy. And we ask that the lives of these who have gone before us inspire in us a similar spirit of service and devotion. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Hultman. You may be seated if you so choose. At this time, I'm going to ask Francine Nesson and Stephen Carita, both members of the Weymouth Veterans Council, if you could pay your attention towards the Weymouth Veterans Memorial Wall. They will be bringing forward the POW MIA chair. The POW MIA chair should give you cause to pause and reflect upon the 92,000 Americans that never returned home and are still considered missing in action or prisoners of war since World War I to the present day. There are over 1,500 Vietnam veterans' families who are still wondering what happened to their loved ones. So, if you'll indulge me, I have a couple of words I'd like to share with you. The program for today's Memorial Day boldly states, freedom is not free. No truer words could be spoken, and no other day embodies that message more than today, Memorial Day. Traditionally, we have read "Freedom is not free" at the Korean War Memorial. We did not hold that ceremony today, but it is important for us to share that sentiment today, so I ask your indulgence in this reading. "Freedom is not free" by Kelly Strong. I watched a flag pass by one day. It fluttered in the breeze. A young Marine saluted it, and then he stood at ease. I looked at him in uniform, so young, so tall, so proud. With his hair cut square and his eyes alert, he'd stand out in any crowd. I thought how many men like him had fallen through the years, how many died on foreign soil, how many mothers' tears, how many pilots' planes shot down, how many died at sea, how many foxholes were soldiers' graves. No, freedom is not free. I heard the sound of taps one night when everything was still. I listened to the bugler play and felt a sudden chill. I wondered just how many times that taps had meant amen, when a flag had draped a coffin of a brother or a friend. I thought of all the children, of the mothers and the wives, of fathers, sons, and husbands with interrupted lives. I thought about a graveyard at the bottom of the sea, of unmarked graves in Arlington. No, freedom is not free. We have read that poem many times. Kelly Strong composed it in 1981 when he was a senior at Homestead High School in Homestead, Florida, where he was in the junior ROTC program. It was written as a tribute to his father, a career Marine who served 2 tours in Vietnam. Kelly is now retired from the Coast Guard after 24 years of service, but his words still ring true with veterans of every age. It is obvious he understood some of the sacrifice our men and women make when serving our country, and the fact that not all come home. Some pay the ultimate price and give their life in the service of their country. Usually we wait until the end of the program to thank groups, and we will be thanking them as well at the end of this. But I want to thank some special people right now. As I was placing flags on veterans' graves at various cemeteries over the last several weeks, I looked around at the Weymouth residents, taking time from their busy lives to help replace the gravesite flags of over 3,500 veterans who are buried here in Weymouth. I overheard a bit of the conversations, and I was overcome with appreciation for what they were doing. There was a father explaining to his 2 children that he used to perform this act with his grandfather, who was a World War II veteran. And you could tell by his smile how much that meant to him and how much he was hoping to convey this on to the next generation. Another mother and father had helped replace flags the year before, and they explained that they and their children look forward to doing it this year and every year in the future. A grandmother had traveled all the way from New York State to demonstrate the importance of this simple task to her grandson. The grandson's mother was a veteran, and she had passed away several years ago. I bring this up to reinforce how fortunate we are to be in Weymouth, where traditions and values are not simply talked about, but practiced and taught to the next generation. I want to especially thank our Weymouth Scouts, the Weymouth Braintree Elks, and St. Francis School, and anyone else who helped brave the elements to replace the flags this month. The importance of which is remembering and acknowledging that this selfless act honors the price the veteran paid. Because as we started, freedom is not free. Thank you for allowing me to share those thoughts. Today, we remember and honor all those who have sacrificed so much to provide us with the freedoms we enjoy today. Just over 50 years ago, the Vietnam War came to an end. Please turn your attention to the memorial wall behind most of you, where the Nam Knights of America, MC, along with Weymouth Public School students, Sophia Zia, Grace Feeney, and Ellie Bonner, will place a wreath honoring those who placed their lives at stake to ensure the freedom of others. Thank you, everyone. The next speaker is a gentleman I have the privilege of knowing for many years now. He is the former commander of the Disabled American Veterans Chapter 65, the Ralph Talbot chapter, which represents Weymouth and 10 surrounding towns. He is also a longtime Weymouth resident and a boots-on-ground officer in Vietnam. It is my pleasure to introduce Arthur Sharp.
Thank you, Judge, for that very kind introduction. This 40,000 square foot piece of land has been transformed into a beautiful special place designed for the remembrance of the ultimate sacrifices made by our fellow Weymouth citizens and servicemen. Before they joined the military, most of them were students attending our Weymouth public schools. The Vietnam conflict officially began on November 1, 1955, and came to an end on May 15, 1975. During that 2 decades, it has been reported that approximately 6 million men and women volunteered or were drafted for service. From Weymouth, approximately 1,000 of our citizens served during the Vietnam era. By the end of the war, some 58,318 names were to be etched into the Vietnam War Memorial Wall in Washington, D.C., because they made the ultimate sacrifice of giving up their life. All of them, obviously, were Purple Heart recipients. Since then, the sad effects of the exposure of Agent Orange has become more recognized as a latent, silent killer. Currently, we are losing more than 500 Vietnam veterans per day, many of those veterans still residing in hospitals and long-term care facilities. These herbicides were designed to eliminate heavy foliage that allowed the enemy, the Viet Cong, to set up ambushes against our Army and Marine infantry units during land operations. Also, it made coastal operations pretty serious for the guys that were running up and down, especially in the Delta with the riverboats. The code name for this new campaign was Operation Ranch Hand and began in 1962 and was completed in 1971. There have been many books written about the aspects of the successes and failures of the various military campaigns, especially relative to the Vietnam War. The one book I found especially revealing and sad is entitled My Father, My Son, written by Admiral Elmo Zumwalt Jr., along with John Pekkanen. It was originally published in 1986. Admiral Zumwalt was the senior officer in the Pentagon that authorized the use of herbicides, Agent Orange. This use was also condoned along the rivers and waterways, especially in the region known as the Delta in South Vietnam. One of our major base camps in that sector was known as Dong Tam, and here is where the story gets a little sad. The Admiral's son, Elmo III, a graduate of the U.S. Naval Academy, located in Annapolis, Maryland, was assigned to be a swift boat commander in the Delta region down just around the Dong Tam area of Vietnam. His boat's mission was to patrol the waters in the Delta, 3rd and 4th Corps, and to engage the enemy at every opportunity. Young Elmo III, after returning home, contracted cancer from being exposed to the herbicide Agent Orange. He died after an extensive several-year effort at Walter Reed Army Hospital to save his life. The sadness did not end with Elmo III, as his own son was born with severe mental complications, also directly attributed to his father's exposure to Agent Orange. There are 14 accepted presumptive conditions that are directly related to the exposure to Agent Orange, and they are recognized by the Veterans Administration. Recently, 4 more ailments have been added to this presumptive list. They are bladder cancer, hypothyroidism, Parkinson's-like symptoms, and hypertension. All veterans who have served in country are eligible to receive VA medical assistance and monetary disability compensation if they have contracted any of these ailments. In conclusion, I served in Vietnam from August 68 to August 69. On Christmas Eve 1968, I received from my boss, Colonel Myron, a man of the Jewish faith, his personal invitation to attend Christmas Eve services at MACV headquarters in Saigon. The featured speaker for that service, the Reverend Dr. Billy Graham. Approximately 200 officers and senior NCOs were in attendance. That was a very special evening, and also having been in country for 4 months and traveling extensively into the Delta region, I began immediately offering the following prayer at bedtime. Dear Heavenly Father, Supreme Architect of the universe, thank you for the gift of another day. Thank you for the gift of another day. I continue to offer this prayer every night at bedtime, and on behalf of all veterans, especially those of us who have had the good fortune of returning home. Hopefully, my words here this morning have been worthy of your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Arthur. I was a bit remiss at the beginning. I failed to do a couple housekeeping items. If anyone should need a restroom, the left side of the school behind us, and also across the street at the field house. They're both open for people should you need them. At this point, I would like to turn the attention to the Weymouth High School Band under the direction of Ms. Kathleen Kenny, and they will perform a medley of America the Beautiful and My Country 'Tis of Thee. Outstanding, very nice, thank you very much. It is now my privilege to introduce Mayor Hedlund. I first worked with him when it was State Senator Bob Hedlund, and the reason we were working together, I was a brand new VSO, Veteran Service Officer here for the town, and he had an idea on how he could better recognize Weymouth's 5 Medal of Honor recipients. Well, you can see that that is an idea that is near and dear to his heart as he continues on with that practice. So it is my great pleasure to introduce the Honorable Mayor, Robert Hedlund.
Thank you all. Thank you for coming out today. We have a number of dignitaries in addition to General Hurley, who I'll be introducing in a moment. but our council president, Mike Melise, is going to have the honor of introducing the other dignitaries that are here with us. But as far as I'm concerned, you're all dignitaries today for being here to help us honor our war dead and those who made the ultimate sacrifice. As we gather on this Memorial Day to honor those who have given their lives for their country, it is only natural to think and wonder about the sacrifices that they made and what motivated them to believe their sacrifice was worth it. To act selflessly and to give your life for others is the essence of a heroic act. And you're going to hear more about some of the heroic acts undertaken by our 5 Medal of Honor recipients today. What is a hero? Many wise men and women have tried to define the term. It has been said that being a hero isn't the absence of fear, but rather doing it and what must be done in spite of that fear. Similar to our first responders who rush in to an emergency when most are running away. Similar to our students that are with us today that have a little bit of trepidation about getting up in front of a large audience. Similar to our DPW workers who worked in the rain to make this happen. I think if we had a little sun in addition to that rain, that grass would be blooming by now, but we had a lot of work being done in some inclement weather to make this happen. And we've been blessed over the years with an incredible number of heroes. You heard the previous speaker talk about those who served in Vietnam, and it is the 50th anniversary of the end of the Vietnam War. I'm sure many of you remember where you were when it was announced that the war was over, when it sort of wasn't really over, but we had hoped it was over. I remember my mother, I was in the back seat of my mother's car, and she heard it on the news. She was driving through Hingham, and she just the church bells were ringing, and she just impromptu fashion pulled into, I'm not Catholic, but pulled into St. Paul's Church to say a prayer. I'll never forget that day. You're going to be hearing in a few minutes from those students that I mentioned. They're going to tell us a little bit about Weymouth's most prominent heroes, the Medal of Honor recipients that their schools are named for. In addition to the 5 Medal of Honor recipients who called Weymouth home, it is also the home of a father and son whose sacrifices had a huge impact on the history of the Vietnam War. It's hard to overstate the significance of having a memorial at Libby Field for Richard B. Fitzgibbons Jr. and Richard B. Fitzgibbons III. Richard Jr. was a former World War II Navy veteran serving in the Air Force as a military advisor when he became the first U.S. casualty in Vietnam in 1956, when the French were still there. His death marks the official start of the war for the United States. Richard III was only 12 here in Weymouth when his dad died. And less than 10 years later, this young Marine lost his life in that same faraway nation. They were the first American father and son to give their lives for our country during the Vietnam War, and both called Weymouth home. It's a terrible tragedy when a family or community loses one of its own. Most military serving their country return home safely, but the Fitzgibbons were not so fortunate. A family losing both a father and son is almost unimaginable. The memorial stones placed in their honor will educate and remind us of the terrible price we pay for our freedom and our way of life. Until now, we didn't have anything to recognize the significances of their contributions to the Vietnam War. With the creation of this monument and through the help and assistance of Quincy Memorial and the funds that were generated through the sale of the Gulf of Weymouth t-shirts, we have corrected that shortcoming. And when I was driving home from North Weymouth, after looking at the Wessagusset Walk project, and was inspired to make a little tongue-in-cheek post about 11 p.m. about the Gulf of Weymouth, and rightfully claiming it from Hingham, who appropriated it from us. I didn't know that it would take off like that, and that a group of guys would step up and make t-shirts, not to capitalize on it themselves, but to provide the proceeds to a worthy charity in Hingham. I just want to give them a shout out because I know a bunch of them are here if you want to wave. There they are. So we decided that after discussions that would be the appropriate use of the money. We actually have a lot left over, so we'll have to think about another project, guys. So everyone that bought a shirt, thank you. While you're here today, check out the memorial. It was just placed this past week across the street next to the Libby, Dr. and Mrs. Libby Memorial that Libby Field is named after. We are here to honor all of the men previously mentioned, but it's also a time for us to remember our unsung Weymouth heroes who have recently passed away. When the roll call is made later today, including those Weymouth veterans who passed away since last Memorial Day, you will hear the name Salvatore Folletti. Sal was a Marine with an amazing artistic gift who could bring marble to life. You will also hear the name of Gene McDermott, who served as the Weymouth Veterans Graves Officer for over 30 years. Every year, Gene volunteered hundreds of hours to ensure every veteran's grave was properly marked and appropriately remembered. These are just two examples of the Weymouth veterans who added to our community's quality of life through simple acts who have passed away this past year. And I just want to mention, as we raise the flag today, and the POW-MIA flag, something very poignant occurred, and I guess coincidentally, this morning I learned that Maureen Dunn of Randolph passed away this past week. And for those of you that don't recognize that name, Maureen married a guy from Hull, whose family I know, and she married a guy who was in the service, Lieutenant Dunn from Hull, and he was one of our early pilots shot down during the Vietnam War. And he was shot down, he was in an unarmed plane and was shot down territorially near China and shot down by Chinese fighters. And his body to this day has never been recovered. But she was one of the early folks to organize on behalf of families whose loved ones were missing in action in Vietnam. And I think it started out as the League of Families. Again, I only saw the obituary this morning, so if my facts are sketchy, I apologize. But they created that flag early on, the League of Families. And initially, it was derided as something negative, and that they were sort of overstepping their bounds. So as we look at that flag today, we think of those that are still missing, and it has a local connection of significance that across the United States, that effort really initiated, or helped to be initiated here in the South Shore, and we lost her this past week. As you listen to the roll call, please remember that each and every name you hear offered their life for their country they loved, and only by the grace of God did they return to Weymouth to enrich our community. Please give their passing the dignity that they have earned. At this time, I want to, with great pleasure and humbly, introduce our keynote speaker today. And he is a Weymouth native, two-star general, and the 24th Chief of Chaplains of the United States Army, a native of Colasanti Road, Major General Paul K. Healy.
I almost cut the mayor off there. You know, it's a privilege. I just want to say first off, it's such a honor to be standing here as someone from Weymouth, as someone who you grew up here entirely, someone who was formed, who I am today, I think was formed mostly here, as someone who attended public schools my whole life here in Weymouth, although all those schools are gone, but some of the names are still here. It really is an honor. And hopefully there's none of the teachers that I had out here. Okay, so I can let you know I was an A student, excelled in all my academic endeavors. So a few months ago, I was asked to speak at a veterans event, and I asked this person who asked me to do this if there was something special they wanted me to talk about. He said, yeah, you know, can you come and speak to us about how we can take care of each other better as veterans? You know, there's a lot of great things out there. We get great VA support. We get the VA folks who are down at the lowest level working to help support veterans. But there's still more to do. There's still more, and especially in the times that we live. Anyway, these veterans were feeling, how can we help each other more? What could we start or what could we do? So it got me thinking, and I shared with them a story that impacted me that I don't think I'll ever forget. So when I was in the Pentagon, I was the chief of chaplains, and every time there was a Medal of Honor ceremony at the White House, I would be part of that. And after the White House ceremony with the president, we would then go back to the Pentagon. And at the Pentagon, they would have a ceremony there as well for the Medal of Honor recipient and their family. And the way these would go, and I was involved in probably 10 or 12 of these, but the way they usually went was the Secretary of the Army, or the Secretary of Defense would get up in the auditorium of the Pentagon, and there'd be thousands of people in there, and he would talk for 20, 25 minutes about the great values that the United States Defense Department is able to provide for its military members, right? And he talked for 20, 25 minutes. And then after he was done, the Secretary of the Army would get up. And he would have to talk longer. So he would talk for 30 minutes, 35 minutes about all the great training and things that the soldiers were given. And that led to this Medal of Honor recipient, in this heroic act, right? And then he'd finish. And then the Secretary of the Chief of Staff of the Army, he'd get up and he would have to speak longer. So he would speak for 40 minutes about all the great things that the Army would do to help provide the environment that this man or this person was able to do this great heroic act. And this is how all these Medal of Honor ceremonies would go, right back at the Pentagon. So anyway, I'm at one of these, and after all those speakers, then the Medal of Honor recipient gets up. So this one particular day, or one particular ceremony, the Medal of Honor recipient gets up, and he says, what I didn't do because of some great values that the military organization provided to me. He said, I didn't do what I did because of some great training that the Army instilled in me. He said, what I did, and what he did, by the way, and during Vietnam, he was in a situation where his unit was pinned down, and there was some wounded soldiers out in a killing field, and he crawled out there to drag those guys back. Not once, not twice, not 3 times, not 4 times, not 5 times, 9 times the man crawled out, bullets flying at him, dragging these people to safety. And he said, the reason that I did that was because my buddy needed me. He said, I didn't do anything that anybody else wouldn't do. He said, I did what anybody would do because my buddy was in trouble. He said, now I'm a chaplain, right? I'm the chief of chaplains. He said, I did that because that's what my faith teaches me. He said, I did that because I love my buddies. That's why I did it. I almost jumped out of my seat. I'll never forget it. So when I went back to that, when I was speaking to that veterans group, what I said to them was, here's how you can, I told them that story. I said, That's how we take care of each other. That's how we take care of each other. Just in the ordinary acts of taking care of our friends. That's what we do. And as I was reflecting about today, Memorial Day, and we're honoring all those men and women who gave their lives, who sacrificed themselves for others, I think it's important for us today to remember, in this great place, in this beautiful weather, this is how we honor those people the most. We do this every year, and we need to. But we do it every day. We need to do it every day. And we need to do it we need to honor those sacrifices of those lives, of those men and women who have died in battle, in combat, by taking care of each other. That's what they show us. That's what they demonstrate. That's what their witness is about. It's about those ordinary, everyday acts of taking care of each other, helping each other. That's what we truly celebrate in this Memorial Day.
Okay, got it. We're going to turn our attention one more time to the Weymouth High School Band under the direction of Ms. Kathleen Kenny, where they will perform the Battle Hymn of the Republic. So it is now my pleasure to ask Mayor Hedlund to please come back to the podium to share some insights on this unbelievable memorial that we have before us today that we are dedicating, as well as recognizing those that we've lost on Memorial Day. Mayor Hedlund.
George works for me, so I get to overrule him here for a moment. We want to get President of our council, Mike Melise, to offer a couple of words and introduce some of the dignitaries that are with us today.
Thank you, Mayor Hedlund. Thank you, George. Mr. Ponce, allow me to introduce the members of the Town Council that are joining with us today. I have Vice President Berger behind me. I have Fred Happel, Councilor at Large. Greg Shanahan, Councilor at Large. Rick Coughlin, Councilor at Large. I have Arthur Matthews, District 4. Ken DeFazio, District 3. Gary McDougall, District 5, and Carrie Palazzo, District 6 is over here. Also joining us is Kathy Curran from the school committee, Tracy Nardone, Danielle Graziano, and Rebecca Shangra. Also over here we have Senator Patrick O'Connor and Representative James Murphy. Good morning, everybody. Members of the Weymouth Veterans Council, Gold Star parents, veterans members of our armed services, Major General Paul Hurley, who was our keynote speaker earlier, great job. Arthur Sharp, a Weymouth Vietnam War veteran who spoke earlier, a resident of the town of Weymouth. On behalf of the Weymouth Town Council, it is both an honor and a privilege to be part of this Memorial Day remembrance. On this beautiful day, it was like it was special ordered. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. It's amazing, the crowd that's here. It certainly shows the values of our beautiful town. So thank you for being here. I'd also like to thank the Weymouth Band. Great job on that. In addition to our observances today, we'll be unveiling new statues in recognition of Weymouth's five Medal of Honor recipients, which is up top here. This project is funded through local contributions, including a $500,000 contribution from Robert Hale, owner of Granite Telecommunications. On behalf of myself and the Weymouth Town Council, we thank you for that generous donation. I'd also there was a lot of people involved in this process of where we are here today, but the Weymouth DPW went over and above. The weather didn't help with what was going on down here, but it was still able to come together, so thank you for that. The plaques recognizing each of these recipients hang on the back wall of the Town Council chambers. Weymouth is unique amongst many communities nationwide. We are the home to not only 5 Medal of Honor recipients, but 2 Merchant Marine Service Medal recipients, countless veterans, and a former First Lady. A Medal of Honor is the highest award given in the military for gallantry above and beyond the call of duty. The recipient must have displayed great personal bravery and self-sacrifice. We thank you for that. As of September 2023, 3,536 Medal of Honors have been awarded to servicemen who have distinguished themselves in action. Merely 463 of the 16 million troops who served in World War II received a Medal of Honor. Originally called Declaration Day, the history of Memorial Day dates back to the Civil War. It was declared national holiday by Congress in 1971. We as a community gather here to pay tribute to the men and women who have selflessly given their lives to military service for the United States of America. Today, throughout our great nation, many Americans join together to ensure the sacrifices these men and women have made and will never be forgotten. We encourage all the citizens to make every Memorial Day in their hearts. May the love of this wonderful country always bond Americans, for all fallen. Let us continue to make this nation one great American family in spirit. May we mark this Memorial Day as a time to reflect upon trials and tribulations experienced by those who have gone before us. Our thoughts and prayers are with the men and women who are actively serving our country. May God bless and thank all of those who made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation. Thank you.
That was clearly an oversight on my part. I wanted to particularly thank the Town Council for their unwavering support of veterans and veteran programs here in this community. We're the envy of the South Shore when it comes to taking care of our veterans, and I just want to thank each and every one of you for helping make that possible. Taking care of our veterans is the paramount thing we can do as a thank you for them for the service that they've provided to our country and protecting our way of life. So, President Molise, thank you very much for representing that. I appreciate it. And now, once again, I'd like to invite Mayor Hedlund up so he can tell us a little bit more about this amazing feature over here.
Thank you, George. I think today's a pretty important day in the story of the town of Weymouth, and the history that has occurred on this site is incredible. Think of past ceremonies, dignitaries that have stood on these grounds to honor our veterans, to honor our war dead. Incredible amount of history here, and I hope that this ranks, as an important day in the annals of the history of this particular site. We're going to get to the important part in a minute, but as we were sitting here, General Hurley asked me, how did this come about? And if you were at town meeting last week, or if you've watched the town meeting coverage on WETC 8, I told the story, but just briefly, I'll tell it again. I want to thank Weymouth 400. We had a wonderful, wonderful celebration a couple of years ago during our 400 ceremonies. And they informed me at the conclusion of our 400th that they had a little money left over, and they were looking for a worthy cause to put it towards. And around that same time that we had been discussing what the appropriate use for those remaining dollars in their account would be, we had a ceremony on Ralph Talbot's birthday at the intersection of Ralph Talbot and Pleasant Street to replace a missing sign on the corner there that many of you have noticed as you drive by. And when I left, I went down Ralph Talbot Street to do an errand, and I looked at the island across from Johnny Kono's, and a little bit of a light bulb went off, and I said, here we are near the school. The Ralph Talbot story is absolutely incredible. He was, even though he died at age 19, his story and his ties to Weymouth were pretty significant. Captain of his debate team at Weymouth High, etc., his military service. And when we reconvened with Weymouth 400, we talked about maybe putting some of that money towards a further tribute to Ralph Talbot. And somebody in the course of the discussion suggested a statue, and I said that would be great over at that island on Ralph Talbot Street. As we looked into that, we discovered there are a lot of complications with it. Believe it or not, the state owns half of the island. We own the other half. There's a line that goes right down the middle. Other complications arose with that concept. We did go out and get a price on a Ralph Talbot statue, and one sculptor in Salt Lake came back with a price that was 50% lower than everybody else. And reconvening with the committee, we said, gee, we can get 2 statues for the price of one with that particular sculptor. And we maybe talked about Seach, and then we said, well, we have 5 Medal of Honor recipients. Doesn't make sense to do 2, but we don't have the money to do 5. As fate intervened, it was around Christmas time, and I was going out to film at different businesses that contribute to the mayor's Christmas fund, which you've all seen on WETC. I went to the Weymouth Club to pick up a check, and we filmed the businesses who pay over a certain level, and I saw a guy working out in the gym that was a representative of Fox Rock. And I went over to him and I said, how come you guys don't donate to this fund? You have a very large presence in Weymouth. And he said, I don't know anything about it. Maybe we should talk. One thing led to another, and I found myself going up the Fox Rock food chain, ultimately having a meeting with Rob Hale. And I offered him a dozen different ideas on how he could contribute. He said, I want to do something more than $1,000 for your Christmas fund. Well, there was a project he liked, and he offered $350,000 towards it. Unfortunately, that project could not come to fruition for a whole series of reasons. And we sent him a concept for this, and he said, well, I like that. How's 500,000 sound instead of the 350? So we gladly accepted. So again, I'll reiterate what President Malise said, and thank him for that generous contribution. I thank Leilani Dalpi, who put the presentation in writing together for him. Unfortunately, she's moved on. She's not working for us anymore, but I do want to recognize her. So we were underway, and it was almost like a reality TV show, like House Flips or one of those shows where they're rushing to get the job done right before the open house, right? That's what was happening here, and the weather did not cooperate with us. Just a couple of notes. We do have a fence that's going to be up there, so if you're up here with your kids and you want to get a closer look, they're not going to fall off once the fence is installed. That got hung up on some delays on supplies, but everything else is pretty much in place. A lot of people were involved in this. I want to recognize them. The head of DPW, and he's actually our acting DPW director right now with our Ken and Connell out with a serious injury. Bob Feldman, if you want to give a wave, and his crew. John McLeod in Asset Management, who had to do the back and forth with our sculptor. And by the way, 2 of them arrived Saturday. That's why, I haven't seen them yet, so I'm excited. And that's why I made the reference to the reality TV show. George Ponce and Michelle Moran in the Veterans Service Office, the entire Weymouth Veterans Council. A special thank you to the Weymouth Schools Administration for cooperating with us out here on the property, but more so in working with us in the program at the schools that'll lead to our special guests that will be speaking in a minute. Weymouth 400 for the contribution in getting the ball rolling on this. Everyone else that I'm forgetting that had a hand in this, thank you very much. I thought about trying to convey my thanks to the DPW guys, because I would look out the window excited by the progress, and they had just the most horrible spring conditions to work in to get this thing done. And I was struggling for the words. And then I saw a letter that Bob Feldman sent to his crew the other day, and it was written much more eloquently. I don't know if he had a ghostwriter or did it himself, but it was written much more eloquently than I could find the words to convey to those guys. And maybe he should be the mayor instead of the DPW director. But I just want to read 2 quick excerpts from the letter that he sent to his crew that worked on this wall. Despite challenging weather conditions, including snow, rain, and freezing temperatures, our dedicated team pushed forward with determination and heart. Countless nights and weekends were given up to ensure this project would be completed not just on time, but to the highest standard possible. This project was not only about construction, it was about teamwork, craftsmanship, and honoring those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. I'm going to skip ahead. And he goes on to say, this memorial wall stands not only as a physical structure, but as a symbol of what can be achieved through collaboration, dedication, and community spirit. Without the combined efforts of everyone involved, this project would not have been completed with such excellence or in such a timely fashion. On behalf of the town of Weymouth and all who will visit this memorial for years to come, thank you. Your hard work has created a place of honor and reflection that our community can be proud of. Thank you, DPW guys. Today, most importantly, this has been brought to us by bravery and sacrifice of 5 sons of Weymouth. 5 Medal of Honor recipients, more than any community in the United States. If you look at, on a per capita basis, all the communities in the United States, it breaks out to 0.183 per capita if you were to spread it evenly across the United States. Weymouth, it's 5. Today we honor in perpetuity the bravery and sacrifices made by William Seach, Eldon Johnson, Thomas Hamilton, Frederick Murphy, and Ralph Talbot. And by the way, George describes Frederick Murphy as a badass. I've enjoyed reading up and refreshing my memory on some of the history of the 5 Medal of Honor recipients. And I did a post on Facebook the other night. When you consider Ralph Talbot lost his life at age 19 over Belgium. You look at William Seach, survived 3 conflicts, received the Medal of Honor in the late 1890s in the Boxer Rebellion. And the fascinating thing for me is, although I didn't go to grammar school in Weymouth, and I went to a school that was named for someone, they never told us what the guy did or who he was. I didn't learn the history of the school that I went to until I was 60 years old. The great thing about Weymouth is we have done things to educate our children the history behind the names of those schools that they're named for. In addition to this, we have put up plaques at the schools, and the school department's done a great job in some of the lobbies of the schools, bringing some of that history back. But William Seach is interesting. I just want to mention, single him out for one thing. What fascinates me and tells me how old I am, that there are guys my age here in Weymouth that went to Seach School that remember William Seach coming to that school in his naval uniform up until he was in his 90s, he lived till 101, to speak to an assembly every year at that school. And I find that fascinating that there are guys still around town, and I'm wondering, anyone here go to Seach that remembers William Seach coming to your school? I don't see any hands. Oh, we got one. But there are people out there that tell me that story, and I find that fascinating, that someone that served his country in the 1890s came back to the school named for him every year to speak. And there are people alive, hopefully for a long time, that remember him coming to that school. And we purposely placed Seach on the end so that it was geographically closest to the Seach School. So it is my honor to welcome George Ponce once again to the podium, and 5 of Weymouth's best, brightest students to speak on the incredible Weymouth men that we honor today.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It gives me great pleasure to welcome these 5 amazing young Weymouthites to the podium today to honor and unveil the statues of another 5 incredible citizens of Weymouth, whose bravery and dedication to freedom and country will continue to shine like a beacon from these grounds to inspire generations to come. At this time, I would like to please welcome Cora Bebo from the Ralph Talbot School.
Valor is the strength and determination to do the right thing, even when it means putting yourself in danger. Ralph Talbot showed much valor as a Marine pilot during World War I. In 1918, his plane was attacked and his co-pilot was badly injured. He safely landed the plane and climbed 50-foot hills in enemy territory while carrying his friend. He got him to the hospital, and his friend survived because of his actions. Talbot then went right back out to fight. Ralph Talbot was the first United States Marine pilot to earn the Medal of Honor. Please unveil the statue of Medal of Honor recipient Ralph Talbot.
Thank you, Cora. We appreciate you joining us today. Also, we would like to thank the great niece and nephews of Ralph Talbot who unveiled his statue for us today. Thank you, Annie Talbot, Bruce Treat, and Robert Treat. At this time, please join me in welcoming Sophie Garrity from the William Seach School.
As a Medal Honor recipient, William Seach is a very important person in Weymouth history who has shown characteristics of valor. Seach showed bravery when he was fighting in the Boxer Rebellion in China. Seach also showed courage when he was captured by a German submarine and taken as a prisoner in 1918. Seach demonstrated patriotism when he was enlisted in the Navy in 1900 to protect America. Seach was committed to the Navy. He retired in 1923, 5 years after he was wounded. It is very important to honor William Seach on Memorial Day because he protected America with valor. Please unveil the statue of Medal Honor recipient William Seach.
Thank you, Sophie. Now, please help me welcome Isabella Pino from the Academy Ave School to honor Eldon H. Johnson.
Eldon Harvey Johnson was in the U.S.
Let's start again, okay? Sorry about that.
Eldon Harvey Johnson was in the U.S. Army during World War II. He put his own life in danger to save his fellow troops. Johnson was courageous in battle and died fighting until the very last moment on June 3, 1944. He took all the shots fired into himself for the hope of his comrades escaping. He gave his life for his country and unit. Eldon Johnson was an inspiration displaying valor, sacrifice, honor, and courage. Please unveil the statue of Medal of Honor recipient Eldon H. Johnson.
Inspiring words, Isabella, thank you. We'd also like to thank the nephew of Eldon Johnson, Lawrence Johnson Jr., and his wife Dawn Johnson for unveiling this statue today. Now please join me in welcoming Isaac Cray from the Thomas W. Hamilton School.
Thomas Hamilton received the Medal of Honor for a brave thing. He was in charge of the USS Cincinnati during the Civil War. Hamilton was traveling through the Mississippi River when they were suddenly attacked by the Confederate Army. They opened fire at the ship and he got hit with a bullet. After Hamilton found someone to bandage him, he went right back to the helm and started steering the ship again, even though he was hurt. He was hit again and the ship then sank. Thomas Hamilton was a hero because he did not give up. Please unveil the statue of Medal of Honor recipient Thomas W. Hamilton.
Isaac, Weymouth thanks you for joining us today. Nice job. To honor Frederick C. Murphy, please welcome Kinsley Bellows from the Murphy School.
Frederick Coleman Murphy was a medic in World War II. On March 18, 1945, an attack happened at Solothurn, Germany. He was shot in his right shoulder but insisted on helping more soldiers. He then entered a minefield where he lost his foot by stepping on a landmine. Despite his injuries, he still persisted to help more soldiers by crawling. He ended up crawling on another landmine, resulting in his death. Frederick C. Murphy was a brave soul. I'm proud my school is named after him. He shows great valor, courage, patriotism, and heroism. He is a role model for the young and old. He sacrificed his life to save others and showed us it's important to put others first. Please unveil the statue of Medal of Honor recipient Frederick C. Murphy.
Just one more hand for our students. Great job. Awesome. And again, being George's boss, I get to correct him one more time on something. He said Johnson was a badass. All 5 of those guys were Weymouth badasses.
Thank you, Kinsley. I'll accept that correction. They certainly earned it. Let's see. We want to thank all of the teachers and administrators of the Weymouth Public Schools who are involved in this process. We put the task to them to come up with their own interpretation of why these service members deserve to be recognized for their actions that earn them the Medal of Honor. So this was a lot of work on their part. So again, one more round of applause for the schools and the students. And we do hope you take some time on the perimeter here, our quilts of valor. So they're very intriguing. They're created by our primary schools and they're on display around the amphitheater today. So at this point is the point of the program where we recognize those Weymouth veterans that we have lost during the last year since last Memorial Day. So I would like to invite Francine Nesson and Jeannie Boland, both members of the Weymouth Veterans Council, to come forward to read the roll call of veterans that have passed. The roll call is a time-honored tradition within the military that you would account for all of your personnel at the beginning of every duty day and then after every significant event. Every effort was made to be present so that you could announce that you were there for roll call, and if you were not, absent would be proclaimed. This being the final roll call for these veterans, their name will be read and then absent will be declared afterwards for their inability to be here. So please join me with Francine Nesson and Jeannie Boland as we recognize these gentlemen and ladies.
Angelo A. Amico. Absent. John N. Bagan. Absent. Stephen Bergfors. Absent. Daniel M. Boyle. Absent. Edwin R. Brenton. Absent. Francis Bromberg. Absent. Paul W. Brooks. Absent. John W. Brooks. Absent. George R. Bulger. Absent. Wayne Cleversey. Absent. Joe D. Cowdrey. Absent. Michael P. Cronin. Absent. James M. Cunningham. Absent. Timothy F. Daly. Absent. Louis A. Danubio, Jr. Absent. Richard F. Downing. Absent. Richard P. Doyle. Absent. Patricia M. Dunn. Absent. James H. Answer. Absent. Charles A. Veletra. Absent. Salvador Veletti. Absent. Stephen T. Ford. Absent. Nicholas C. Galante. Absent. Mark W. Gilman. Absent. Maxine L. Skodu. Absent. Charles L. Golston. Absent. Ronald D. Green. Absent. James M. Halpin. Absent. Robert C. Herrick. Absent. Richard Helbert. Absent. William M. Hoxie. Absent. Edward M. Kennedy. Absent. Axel H. Clayberg. Absent. Wilbur Lammy. Absent. Richard Lahine. Absent. Jimmy Love Jr. Absent. David A. McDonald. Absent. Arthur McCaffrey Jr. Absent. Eugene McDermott. Absent. James B. McGrath. Absent. William D. McLaughlin. Absent. Edward L. McLeod III. Absent. Thomas M. McQuaid. Absent. Melvin R. Meehan Jr. Absent. John D. Mitch. Absent. Merle Naughton. Absent. Robert H. O'Leary. Absent. Leonard B. Orton Sr. Absent. Anthony J. Pacelli Jr. Sr. Absent. Robert A. Pinelli Jr. Absent. John J. Quinlan. Absent. Frank N. Ram. Absent. Kevin J. Riley. Absent. Edward W. Romans Jr. Absent. Carl F. Schuster Jr. Absent. William J. Shea. Absent. Michael E. Steen. Absent. Joseph J. Tagliatero. Absent. James W. Wake. Absent. John V. White Jr. Absent. Dennis S. Wolf. Absent.
Thank you for recognizing and appreciating those names as we read through them. It takes hundreds of hours to assemble the roster. We don't get a list from anyone, and that's our Veterans Graves Officer, Stephen Carita, spends numerous hours assembling that list so that we can appropriately recognize those Weymouth veterans that we have lost throughout the last year. So I just want to thank you for all that effort, Stephen. Thank you. At any veteran event where we are reading the list of those we have lost, it is right and just that we send off a salute and the playing of taps. At this point, I'd like to, if everyone that is able to, please rise as the American Legion Bean Post 79 Honor Guard and the Squadron 79 Sons of the American Legion Honor Guard will render a rifle salute, and they'll be followed by the playing of taps by Evan Manco and Julian Otero, both Weymouth High School students. Sergeant at Arms, prepare to salute the departed. 2. And salute. Thank you for that. If you would turn your attention, if you would please turn your attention towards the amphitheater base there. We are going to have different representatives, different branch members that have served in the military and family members of some of our Medal of Honor recipients. They're going to raise the branch flags representing the 6 different branches of the U.S. military. With the U.S. Army, we have Jeannie Boland and Francine Nesson. For the Marines, we have Brad Hultman and the Talbot family members, grandniece Annie Talbot and nephews Bruce Treat and Robert Treat. The Navy, we have May Chu and our own Weymouth Fire Department Chief Keith Stark. For the Air Force, we have Jerry Burke and Sam Burke. The Space Force, we have an active duty Lieutenant Josiah Wattenberger, who is actually stationed down at a Space Force location. He lives here in Weymouth. And the Coast Guard is represented by Weymouth Police Officers Mike Carthus and Officer Joe Nardone. Flag detachment. Please raise your flags. Of course, I do have to just throw this out there. The Army and the Marines were the first 2 up there, so leading the way once again. Okay, at this time, please remain standing as I invite the the Disabled American Veterans Ralph Talbot Chapter 65 chaplain forward to share with us the benediction. Chaplain Ron Evans.
Heavenly Father, in your Son's precious name, we humbly ask these things. May your peace surround us. May your strength empower us. May your love indwell us. The Lord be with you and bless you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. Thank you all for attending today's ceremony. In God's abundant blessings go forth. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Ron. Before we close with the singing of God Bless America by Ms. Liz Milch, we just want to remind everyone to please stick around. There's going to be a tremendous show after this, where the United States Coast Guard Academy Band is going to be playing after they set up, so it's just going to be a short delay after the ceremony. It's well worth your time. They helped inaugurate the Chapman Auditorium when it originally opened, and I can tell you firsthand, they are an amazing group. So if you've never seen a harp played, this is your chance. So the Weymouth Veteran Council recognized the time and energy it takes from the participants and their families to be part of these events, and we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. The Weymouth Veterans Council, located right through here, would like to thank the Department of Public Works for not only the hanging of the flags and the routes, but also the outstanding work on the cemeteries and the amazing work they did with the amphitheater. And in regard to the amphitheater, almost every town department had some role in this project. And on behalf of the Weymouth veterans, we want to convey a huge thank you to one and all. We appreciate the school department for the amphitheater setup and cleanup, the Weymouth Police and Fire for everything they do, Weymouth Emergency Management for their traffic and safety assistance, the Honor Guards and veterans, and Liz Milch for helping close with God Bless America. Lastly, we rely upon the continued support of the elected officials here in the town, and we truly appreciate the level of support that the veteran community receives here. Final part of the ceremony will be the singing of God Bless America, led by Liz Milch.
While the storm clouds gather far across the sea, let us swear allegiance to a land that's free. Let us all be grateful for a land so fair, as we pledge allegiance to a land that's free. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
If you'd all stay with me, are the scouts still available up there? It is now noontime. We can raise the flag to its full height. So would you all please, again, either veterans, please salute, and others place your hand over your heart. Please raise the flag to full staff. And one minor correction of my own doing, this is the United States Coast Guard Band, not the Academy Band, my correction. So please enjoy them, and thank you very much for attending. That concludes our Memorial Day observance here in Weymouth.